Chapter 23 Treadmill Tours. When everything is going your way, when everything seems to be working out just the way you want it to, there is very little time spent pondering the ultimate purpose and direction of your life. But when your life begins to spin around and around the old toilet rim, gradually slipping off its slick and slippery edge into the cold, waste-removing waters below, then, and usually only then, do you slow down and begin to ask the question, why? I found myself hiding out in a friend's rented house in the country. Strangely, the country felt much safer than the busy, crime-filled streets of the city. I wanted to be away from my own house, away from the busyness and noise of the city, away from the sirens, and more specifically, away from the people who work those sirens. As I sat in the solitude of a quiet country evening, I came to the realization that I was once again on the run. This time I was running from the law, but this wasn't the first time I'd put on my running shoes. They were beginning to be well broken in. A couple years earlier, I ran away from the city where I grew up because my reputation had become so brutal and tainted, I thought it beyond repair. I figured running away to a different city would give me a fresh start. What I found instead was more trouble. Instead of meeting new good friends, I ended up making the same kind of friends, people who liked the same things that I did, who hung out on the wrong side of the tracks, living dangerously. These new friends helped me to build a new reputation, one that would have caused my parents to die of shame if they had known what I was doing. Instead of running away to a better life, I had simply sped up the downward spiral of my life. Within a year of moving back from my hometown, I was putting my running shoes back on again. Trouble had somehow found my new address. One night I dropped off my old friend, the one I later robbed, at his house after an evening together. We had just come from the stripper bar where we had spent an evening oogling young women with very little common sense and even less clothing. Lost souls who wondered why they always attracted the wrong type of guy, unaware that their lack of clothing and morals were bold advertisements, drawing evil men to them like vultures to a carcass. My friend and I had also kept our throats wetted by liberal amounts of alcohol, lowering our inhibitions and raising our aggression. Finally, when we grew bored, we lured a loudmouth, annoying drunk out into the dark parking lot and beat him within an inch of his life, robbing him of all of his possessions just because he bothered us. Speeding away from the nightclub, a fear began to creep in, causing my chest to constrict. When we had finally quit beating him, he hadn't been moving. He was lying flat on his back like a dead man. Did we kill him? Driving down the freeway, I expressed this concern to my friend. "Do you think we killed that guy?" I asked him, trying not to sound too worried. His flippant reply brought even more apprehension into my heart. "Who cares? Let's go get something to eat," he laughed, dismissing the subject as if we were talking about an insect that just had collided with the car's windshield. As I dropped him off that night, I had to look at myself in the rearview mirror of my car and ask myself what I had become. My mom and dad had always raised me to be an upright, honest man, and I had become a vile, horrible monster. My parents would have cried had they known the depths to which my life had fallen. Watching my friend disappear into his house from the silence of my little car, a feeling of emptiness, fear, and shame haunted me. I knew that now I would have to solve my problems in my usual, standard fashion. I knew that I would have to run away. Maybe if I ran away back to my hometown, all of my troubles would be over. I had run back to my hometown, continued in my life of wickedness and crime, and eventually found myself where I was at present, still in trouble and still wearing the running shoes. Now, as I sat on the dark porch in the silent countryside reflecting on my past, I realized that running wasn't going to solve my problems. I was soon to discover that you could never run away from your problems when you are your problem. No matter where you end up, there you are. I tried to keep from thinking about the police searching for me to arrest and put me behind bars, but I kept wandering back to this unpleasant subject. Every time my mind locked onto these realities and began to mull them over, an overpowering sensation of anxiety would sink its teeth into my stomach and gnaw at me ruthlessly. A few months earlier, when I had stolen the drugs from my old friend, I was afraid of being maimed or killed. Now my fear was different. Those looking for me now were not going to physically destroy me, but their punishment would destroy not only my reputation, but the reputation of my parents. Their punishment would steal my freedom and place me in a zoo with other animals much like myself, a literal hellhole. Their punishment would forever change my future, branding me a criminal not only in the eyes of other criminals, but in the eyes of those from the normal world, from whom I had effectively hidden my criminal lifestyle. The truth would be shouted from the rooftops throughout the streets. I felt darkness closing in, gripping my heart. How could things be any worse? Was there any answer to my dilemma?